If at any point in time you want to ask a question, share a comment, tell a joke, whatever, feel free to unmute yourselves. You can, and chime in on the conversation. Look, I'll tell you this. When I was a kid, I loved hearing bedtime stories. I loved it. Who doesn't like a good bedtime story, right? And as I became a parent, I enjoyed telling bedtime stories, and I still do enjoy telling bedtime stories. So I figured, if it's good for my kids, why isn't it good for you, right? After all, like the 1980s Pittsburgh Pirates used to say, yeah, you remember this. What was their slogan? We are family, right? We're family. So if we're family, if we're mishpacha anyway, so I have a proposal. I'm going to read you a bedtime story tonight. And the story that I chose is, you may know, by the way, the title already, right? It's called, The Giving Tree. I am going to read the story to you, but here's the catch. Here's the catch. You ready? I don't want you falling asleep because it's not that type of bedtime story. It's not the type of story that we read at night to put you to bed. This is a story that is absolutely filled with insight, filled with inspiration. Look, I could do an entire series on the Giving Tree. So, but we're not doing a series tonight. One presentation, one workshop, one session on the magnificent work of Shel Silverstein. You familiar with Shel Silverstein? Yes, we know his work. Yes, what he looked like, in case you need a refresher. Yeah, that was the picture that he chose for this book. Interesting choice. There are many, many different clues about this book. I don't know that I'm going to talk about the picture tonight, but there's what to talk about. Okay, so there are different ways to read a story. You can read a story on a very, we would say in Hebrew, b'shitchiyut, which means very surface. You can read it like a surface level, basic level reading. And then, of course, you can do a deep dive. Okay, so maybe I'm bringing my Talmudic background into this. Maybe. So maybe that's me, right? Kind of trying to impress some Talmudic analysis onto Shel Silverstein, but I think I'm onto something here. And listen, I know what I think, but tonight we'll get to know what you think, or at least you'll get to know what you think about our deep dive into this book. This book is very polarizing, this book being The Giving Tree. It is extremely polarizing. I've spoken to many people and asked them, so have you ever read the Giving Tree? Sure. What do you think? I don't know of another kid's book, like picture book. I don't know of anybody that's offended by Goodnight Moon. Let's put it that way, right? You know Goodnight Moon? Yeah. Or what was that book? I Love You. The one with the rabbits. Karen.
I Love You to the Moon and Back or whatever.
Yeah, I Love You to the Moon and Back, and the kid. Oh, I love that book. Karen, what is it called? I see you're trying to tell me. Oh, are you you're muted again? Okay.
Love You Forever. Love You Forever. Is that the one you're thinking about?
Maybe.
How about Runaway Bunny? Runaway Bunny?
Maybe it's Runaway Bunny.
Yeah, Runaway Bunny is written by the same author as Goodnight Moon.
Margaret Weiss Brown.
Margaret Weiss Brown, right.
Good. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Runaway Bunny. I love that. I love the ending. It's so tender. It's gewaldic. It's sweet. It's precious. Right? The little bunny falls asleep in the mommy bunny's arms, and it's so beautiful. Yeah, I love you to the moon, and then that mother one-ups the bunny. That was always a little weird. But like, no, I got, you can jump here, I can jump there, you can stand on your head, I can stand on 3 heads, whatever, all that stuff. But the bottom line is, I don't know if anybody that's polarized or offended by that book. But here's the crazy thing. Pull out The Giving Tree. Some people love it. Oh my, what a wonderful book. It's fantastic. By the way, I'm not going to tell you how I feel yet. Oh, you'll find out soon. And I'm not going to tell you how to feel, how you should feel. You'll decide that. Runaway Bunny, yes. Excellent. Thank you. So I'm not going to tell you what I feel yet. I'm not going to tell you how to feel. I don't know how you feel as of like up until this evening. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Oh, guess how much I love you. That's what it was. Oh, I think Julie's right, actually. Plot twist. I don't think it's Runaway Bunny. I think it's Guess How Much I Love You. Thank you, Julie. All right. Anyway, This book is polarizing. People love it. People hate it. Trust me, I've done deep dives. You know what I'm talking about. We're speaking about bunnies anyway. You know the rabbit hole of the internet? You know what I'm talking about, right? Where you like, oh, this is a cool topic. 5 hours later, you're like knee deep wading in like message boards and layers of stuff. If you've never tried it, God bless you. It's fantastic. Well, then you've been spared. But if you've done it before, it's also kind of amazing to kind of have that deep research. I digress. The point is that this book, The Giving Tree, is so polarizing, and across the internet, people love it, people hate it, people want to ban it, people think it's the best thing since, I don't know, since sliced bread. So what I want to do tonight, I want to read the book. I'm going to read the book. Then I'm going to ask a bunch of questions. I think I'm going to do this. Maybe ask questions, maybe point out some things. We'll have a discussion, and then I want to share with you a Jewish perspective on the Giving Tree. Now, you know Shel Silverstein. With a name like Silverstein, you kind of got to be Jewish at that point, right? I mean, Shel Silverstein, Jewish guy, whether he was writing hold on one second. Okay. Whether or not he was writing a Jewish book intentionally, I don't know. But I believe with every fiber of my being, this is all I'll say right now because I'm holding the rest for soon. But I'll tell you this. I don't believe he was writing this for kids. I know it's a kid's book. I know it's a picture book. I don't believe this mess. I don't believe this is intended solely or even primarily for children. I think this is a very deep book.
It's always struck me as being kind of like Sesame Street, where it was written on 2 levels, one for the kids and one for the adults.
Yes. I have LaCroix in my hand, and I was about to take a sip, but here's what I'll drink to that. L'chaim. Look, many things are written on multiple levels. You know, they have, I don't know, anything like Finding Nemo or all these things. You have humor on multiple levels. You have plots on multiple levels. But my belief here with The Giving Tree is primarily, not also for adults, primarily, it's an extremely deep book with a very powerful message. Like I wrote in the promotional, I'm assuming you all saw the promotional materials that I wrote up, that we put together. There are messages for education, messages for parenting, messages for leadership, and really for life itself. So all 3 areas and beyond, there are such incredible messages. Steve is writing in the chat box. It was published October 1964, correct? This is a book that's been around for a while, and its messages ring true to this very day. Before I start reading, the way we're going to do it is, if you have a copy, you can bring it, if you want. But I'm going to pull up. I have a PowerPoint with slides that has the book, which has the illustrations and the text. So we'll do a reading. Like I said in the intro, I love reading books. So I'll read you a story. I'll put it up on the screen. You're going to see it together. It's not exactly the same layout as the book itself, just due to graphical considerations. It just you'll see what I mean. It's not exactly b'diyuk, perfectly aligned with the layout of the book, but it's 90 to 95% there. So you're getting pretty much the original, different font, whatever, but you'll see what I mean. One thing I want to ask you to think about before I start, and I'm about to start, before I start reading the book, I want you to think about the following question. 4-word question. You ready? Who is your tree? That's the question. Who is your tree? So let's begin. Like I said, I'm going to share my screen. Let's hope this works nice and smooth. Please let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen? Please give me a thumbs up or unmute yourself to let me know that you can. Yes? It should be full screen now. Can you guys see that? Beautiful. I love technology, right? Especially when it works. Technology when it works is fantastic. Okay. Good. Let's start. Well, what's the title of the book? As you may have noticed, the title is The Giving Tree, and the author is Shel Silverstein. Okay. And you see there's A very cute picture on the cover picture. A little boy who is at a young age, right? With his hands outstretched, and the tree is giving him the apple. Okay. It's a little foreshadowing for the plot. Once again, The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein, originally published, as Steve mentioned before, in 1964. Let's start. Guys, I hope you're all relaxed. I hope you're all comfortable. Let's begin. Once there was a tree, and she loved a little boy. Now, let me point out a few things in the illustration. Do you see the little boy? Please unmute yourself if you see it. Can anyone see? Can you spot the little boy? Yes?
Yeah,
Where's the little boy?
to the right.
To the right. You see his leg. His leg is just creeping into the picture. He's approaching. Okay, so we have the tree, and she loved a little boy. And every day, the boy would come. You notice the body language of the tree? Maybe it's funny to call it body language. You see that? Tell me, again, unmute yourself if you want to jump in on this. What is the body language of the tree?
Two arms hugging, reaching out to hug.
Reached out, arms outstretched, ready to embrace. The boy is on his way. Right before we saw the leg, right? I just went back a page. Before we saw the leg, now we see the rest of the boy emerge. The boy is running head first to the tree, and she is ready. She's ready with arms outstretched. Okay. And the story continues, and he would gather her leaves. You notice what's in his right hand? You see the leaves? And he's reaching up for some more. And you can notice at the top, I'm not sure if you can see my mouse or not, but you can notice at the top, it looks like there's a tree that's getting ready to fall. In fact, I wonder in the original book, is there a leaf that is falling yet at that point? Yeah. In the original book, which I have, I'm not going to stop sharing to show you this, but in the original, it shows actually a leaf in different stages of falling. So it's not on this version of it, on the PowerPoint version, but there's a leaf and you can see its trajectory falling through the air. Okay, let's continue. And so he would gather the leaves and make them into crowns and play king of the forest. Look at the young boy. Look at him. Unmute yourself. Tell me what type of emotion is being depicted in that illustration. What is Shel Silverstein depicting in that scene? What does the boy look like?
Julius Caesar.
Okay, good. How does he feel?
Arrogant.
Maybe a little arrogant, but maybe he's like kind of like that pretend arrogant, right? Maybe he's having fun with the arrogance, right? He's king of the forest. Sorry? He's king of the forest. He's proud. Okay, let's continue. What else would the boy do? He would climb up her trunk. You see the little boy? You see his hands embracing the trunk, his feet on the other side, and his shoes all the way to the bottom right. You climb up her trunk and swing from her branches. This is always a tricky illustration. The tricky thing is to find the boy, but you see the boy at the top right. Spoiler alert, there he is with his toes hanging down from that branch. Must be a very strong branch. Okay, and what would he do there? In the tree, he would eat apples. You see the apple cores that are falling down from the tree. His shoes are still there. So the assumption is that he is very much involved in the tree, inside the tree, eating the apples. Let's continue inside. And when he was tired, he would sleep in her shade. And there's the boy. You see all the pictures. You see some leaves on the ground, some apple cores. You see the shoes. And you see the little boy cozied up into the tree. Notice that the tree also is kind of leaning over. I think the implication of, well, you tell me, what do you think the implication of that tree kind of leaning toward that side, to that direction, with the leaves in that type of way? What do you think that is? What does that evoke for you?
sun. The tree is
Sorry?
Protecting the boy from the sun.
Good. It's being very protective, right? So the tree is casting shade, and it's like an umbrella almost now, kind of leaning toward the sun, allowing the boy who she clearly loves so dearly to sleep. And you see, of course, the Z's that represent sleep.
Rabbi Ari, did you skip a page and they would play hide and go seek, or did you read that?
Oh, no, you know what? Thank you for pointing that out. That I'm looking at it now, cross-referencing. That is missing from my PDF. I don't know why. They would play hide and go seek. The illustration, this time I'm going to stop share because it's more than just a leaf. I'm going to hold up my book. This is they would play hide and go seek. I don't know why it's missing from that file that I have. You see that? The tree is, the little boy is hiding behind a rock, and the tree is pointing with her branches, and saying, "Gotcha, found you." So very playful, very warm, it already, for me, it really starts evoking a lot of emotions. There's a love, there's a sensitivity, it's very precious. It's very precious. Okay, let me continue with the screen share. And Karen, or whoever has a copy of the book, because I'm looking at the screen, I'm not looking at each page. If there's anything else that's missing, just let me know and we'll make sure to get it in.
Will do.
Okay, thanks. And when he was tired, he would sleep in her shade. And again, the tree is protecting him from the elements. There we go. And the boy loved the tree. You see him hugging the tree. Notice also the branches. This is like a shape-shifting tree. The tree now the branches are down and once again, kind of in that hugging embrace. The boy loved the tree very much. And the tree was happy. If you notice, what did the little boy do? He has on the ground what looks like a knife. And there, if you look closely at the tree, what do you see? You see a little heart. And carved into the heart, it says me and T. Who's T? I'm going to assume it's referring to the tree, right? That's the implication. Me and T, me and tree. Okay, so at this point, all is good. Let's fast forward. The time went by. Now, if you notice, the boy is not so innocent anymore, right? Look at the boy's face. He's a little bit older and with a little bit of worry or concern on his face. And if you notice, in pretty much all of the previous illustrations, the boy was facing the tree, right? Yes, the boy was facing the tree, running toward the tree. Look at the previous page. The boy is facing the tree. The boy's hugging the tree before that. And now, where's the boy looking? Away from the tree. So time went by, and the boy grew older. So the boy is resting near the tree again, but look, what do you see there nestled in the tree? Unmute yourself. Tell me, what do you see?
Two people.
Two people. What's the implication?
He's got a girlfriend. I hope it's a girl.
Right. He met somebody and they're hanging out. The implication is the tree is not the only game in town anymore. Right now there's somebody else. There's somebody else that the tree is that the boy is developing a relationship with. The boy grew older. Look at the tree desperately sending leaves his way. Doesn't look like the boy might respond. If you notice now, the carving in the trunk of the tree, there's a me and T, but there's also a me and YL. That's a great mystery that I don't have solved yet. This is homework for you to do a deep dive in the message boards on the internet. See if you can find out who YL is, and if you do, let me know. Steve is writing in the chat that the scene looks kind of shady, and yeah, I would agree with him.
YL is supposed to be young love.
Oh, young love. Oh, wow, young love, fantastic. We have some living trees, some giving tree scholars here. I love that. Okay, and the boy grew older, and the tree was often alone. Look at the body language of the tree. right? What does this evoke? Unmute yourself. What does this evoke? What does it look like? What does it look like?
Self-soothing.
Self-soothing. The tree is hugging herself, right? She's alone. She's alone. Then one day, the boy came to the tree, and the tree said, "Come, boy, come and climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and eat apples and play in my shade and be happy." "I am too big to climb and play," said the boy. "I want to buy things and have fun. I want some money. Can you give me some money?" "I'm sorry," said the tree, "but I have no money. I have only leaves and apples. Take my apples, boy, and sell them in the city. Then you will have money and you will be happy." So the boy climbed up the tree and gathered her apples and carried them away. And the tree was happy. It's a lot of apples. But maybe he needs a lot of money. But the boy stayed away for, I'm pretty sure that's a typo, for a long time. And the tree was sad. And then one day, the boy came back, and the tree shook with joy. And she said, "Come, boy, come, climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and be happy." You see the boy is getting older. You see that picture? Not a little boy anymore. That was a big boy, right? Okay. But the tree is very excited to see him. She says, "Climb up my trunk, swing from my branches, and be happy." "I am too busy to climb trees," said the boy. "I want a house to keep me warm," he said. "I want a wife and I want children, and so I need a house. Can you give me a house?" "I have no house," said the tree. "The forest is my house. But you may cut off my branches and build a house. Then you will be happy." And so the boy cut off her branches and carried them away to build his house. By the way, I love this picture. Well, okay, I should qualify this. It's a very bittersweet picture, but I always kind of find it amusing that this man, is about to build a house from the least amount of wood that I've ever seen in my life to build a house. But I digress. It's going to be a very small house, but I understand this in the context of the story. So the boy cut off her branches and carried them away to build his house. Okay, let's continue. Oh, and the tree was happy, right? The tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time. You see the boy now? Not so young anymore. And when he came back, the tree was so happy she could hardly speak. "Come, boy," she whispered. "Come and play." "I am too old and sad to play," said the boy. "I want a boat that will take me far away from here. Can you give me a boat?" "Cut down my trunk and make a boat," said the tree. "Then you can sail," it's a typo, "then you can sail away and be happy." And so the boy cut down her trunk and made a boat and sailed away. You see the axe, some wood chips on the floor, wood splinters on the floor, pieces of wood, and he's carrying the trunk away. He made a boat and he sailed away. And the tree was happy, but not really. And after a long time, the boy came back again. "I am sorry, boy," said the tree, "but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone. My teeth are too weak for apples," said the boy. "My branches are gone," said the tree. "You cannot swing on them. I am too old to swing on branches," said the boy. "My trunk is gone," said the tree. "You cannot climb. I am too tired to climb," said the boy. "I am sorry," sighed the tree. "I wish that I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I am just an old stump. I am sorry." "I don't need very much now," said the boy. "Just a quiet place to sit and rest. I am very tired." "Well," said the tree, straightening herself up as much as she could, "well, an old stump is good for sitting and resting. Come, boy, sit down and rest. And the boy did. And the tree was happy. The end. That's the book. That is the book. Timeless classic. It's one of consistently rated or voted or whatever, one of the top children's books of all time. To me, it's very heavy with emotion. I'm just speaking personally. There's a lot of emotion in the book. And like I said at the top, there are many different ways to read the book, many different understandings of the book. What I want to do is share with you a Jewish perspective. That's what I call tonight's event, The Giving Tree, a Jewish perspective. Is this the only perspective? No. Is it the only Jewish perspective? Probably not. It's my perspective, and it's a Jewish perspective. So before we analyze the book, I want to ask you a question. First of all, do you remember my question, the question that I asked you, the 4-word question that I asked you before we started? Yeah? Unmute yourself if you can remind me what my question to you was.
Who is your giving tree?
Who is your tree? Who is your tree? Okay? So now if you'd like to share, I'd like to hear. Who is your tree, or who was your tree? It's the same thing. If they were, then they probably are in body or in spirit. Who is your tree? Who is your tree? Feel free to jump in.
My mother.
Mother.
My husband.
Husband. Good.
My stepdad.
Stepdad. Excellent.
My daddy.
Dad.
My grandmother.
Grandma. By the way, you don't have to come up if you agree. If you have the same, tree. Feel free to share it also. Anyone else want to share?
Too.
Sorry? No. Okay. So there are as many people as there are as many trees. Everyone has a tree. Everyone has had a tree in their life. Next question. Why does the tree keep giving and giving? What motivates the tree? Why is the tree giving and giving and giving?
It makes the tree happy.
Good, makes the tree happy. What else? What
Not
else?
The tree is codependent. The tree is an enabler. The
Well, hold on. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. What else? Good point. Julie, I don't disagree with you. But I want to get back to it in a little bit.
Sorry, but your question was, say your question again.
What's motivating the tree to give? Does anyone feel like what's motivating the tree to give is love? Love for the boy?
Yes.
I do.
Yeah?
Yes.
And many people feel that.
Unboundless love, unselfish love.
Yeah.
Just giving and giving and giving and never stopping to give, even to the end. Even when there's nothing left to give, I'll give the stump, right? It's to max, 100%. Good.
But she was
Unlimited chesed.
Chesed. Okay, good. Unlimited. Yes.
she
The
was
tree is a
selfish.
Jewish grandmother.
Jewish grandmother. Okay,
That's
good.
what I said.
Susie, did you want to jump in with something?
Because while she was giving and everything was wonderful, she was also demanding something for herself. She was getting fulfilled by what she gave him.
Excellent point. Excellent point. So would you say it's love, or is there a tinge or an element of selfishness perhaps there as well that you're alluding to?
It seems like it's unconditional love.
This is, by the way, this question that I just asked you that we're discussing right now, and I'm enjoying the different perspectives. This is at the core of what I would like to call the great polarization of the giving tree.
The apple core?
Some people look at, the apple core, exactly. No, this is, no pun intended, or all puns always intended. This cuts, right? This goes straight, I'm going to use it again. This goes straight to the core of what I consider to be the polarization around this book, because those that feel that this is the greatest expression of love have one way of looking at the entire book, and those that feel, oh, wait a second, hold on, there's another agenda here, right? Then it becomes a much darker tale, and pretty much most of the time people look at it kind of one way or the other. It's also possible to see both ways at the same time, but I think most of us are inclined to see it one way or the other. Again, we're going to explore this at length tonight. I just want to start off with these few questions. Now, what do you think about the boy? Let's talk about the boy. Yeah. How would you describe him? Is he a normal kid? Is he what traits jump out at you about this boy? Again, unmute yourself, jump in on this conversation.
He was the taking boy. She was the giving tree. He was the taking boy.
So that's what he did, but give me some sort of adjective to describe him. How would you describe him? How would you characterize him? This kid,
Fringe All-American kid of the 1960s.
Okay, but give me more. Give me an adjective. How would you describe him?
He becomes mature and embraces the outside world.
Okay, because he's growing up a little bit.
Right.
Steve said that he is selfish, right? He's selfish. He keeps on taking.
Or thankless. Never do you hear a thank you.
Never once said thank you. He just went on his merry way. When he was a kid, at least he made an etching, a carving in the tree. Me&T to express his love. Maybe he hugged the tree, whatever, he's hanging out. But as he got older, garnished. I have here in the chat, Linda's writing, selfish, thoughtless, unaware, right? Like he's completely in a different place, just completely focused on self. Anybody have any other descriptions? Maybe a completely different description of the boy. Jump in.
Oh, Rabbi, I was just horrified when I saw him making off with the crown of, the crown of the tree, the leaves, the branches. It was horrifying.
Who does that? What kind of kid is this?
Horrifying.
Seems like a rotten kid. All right, yeah, listen, we're going to do some puns here tonight. It's going to happen, right? Seems like a spoiled kid, huh? Sorry, Matt, what did you say?
There's something really sad about his life. I guess I'm now focusing on the older kid that he wants to build their house. I don't know if he ever got his family. He wants to go run away from everything, probably because his life is terrible. Then he comes back a sad old man.
Excellent. I'm going to get there in a second. Hold that thought. Excellent thought. Hold on to that thought for a second. We're going to get there in a moment. How else would you describe the boy? Listen,
materialistic.
We have one angle so far that he is thoughtless. He's selfish. He's self-absorbed. He's right. It's pleasure driven. He's a loner. What else? Give me something else. He never
grew up. He never was able to figure out how to take care of himself and be a mature person.
Good, excellent. Never grew up. What else? Good.
Materialistic.
Excellent. Materialistic. What else?
Lonely.
I'd say joyless, right? The tree is always happy, but the boy is always joyless.
Oh, good. All right, hold on to that idea. I want to ask you another question. I told you I have a bunch of questions. Sorry?
Disconnected.
Good. I want to share with you the screen one more time. Let's see if it's still in the same place. If it is, okay. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Share. Tell me for a moment. Take a look at this picture. This is the very last illustration in the book. This is the final page. I mean, before obviously the end pages and the back cover, but this is the last of the inside pages. Yeah. Tell me something. Answer, please, the following question. Again, this is a discussion. Answer the question. How would you describe this picture? Is it a happy picture or is it a sad picture? Weigh in.
Sad and unsatisfied.
Sad.
And unsatisfied, yeah.
Unfulfilled, rudderless.
Yep.
And he's
what do you feel?
On the other hand, though, I agree with whoever wrote the comment bittersweet, because he's come back to source. I mean, this is where he started from, and we start the book with him in the tree, and now here he is at the end of his life cycle, kind of, sort of, and he has come back to source.
I see that. Yes, good point. At the same time, it's easy also to sense a bit of sadness here as well, right?
You know, I think it's interesting that his hat is off.
Yeah.
You know, I'm trying to figure out what that means.
That was my next question. Karen,
Oh,
that was
really?
my next question. Yeah, that was my next question. I want to know so what do you think? Let's discuss it now. And everyone chime in on this. What do you think? What is the hat?
Well, you know, like people usually take their hat off, you know, like when they're home, when they're inside, they've, you know, they at this point, he's not hiding himself or he's not covering himself or, but then on the other hand, if you look at it from a Jewish perspective, you know, he is not connected. I mean, if you look at it from like a kippah perspective, he doesn't have that connection with God at that moment. So I could see it from two different perspectives.
Right. Interesting take on both sides. Anyone else want to weigh in on the energy of this picture? Happy, sad, somewhere in between?
Well, I think Patty made a really important point in the chat where she talks about the fact that you only see one heart on the tree. And you know, it's interesting if you think back through the story when he is trying to get away from whatever he's trying to get away from in his boat, he cuts the tree in between where it was he and the tree. And then when it was he and his young love, and he's taking the part of the trunk with his young love to get in the boat and go away. And here at the very end, because it says the end, it is he and his original love that he had carved in the tree of he and the tree and his love for the tree.
He's looking away from the tree. He's embarrassed by his actions. He's reflecting, but he realizes that he hasn't engaged properly with the tree.
I believe the hat on the ground represents resignation. He is at the end of his life, or he's tired. Basically represents the end.
But the hat was off earlier in the book also, when he was playing with the tree. So there may still be some kind of a connection between who he is now and
Rabbi.
So maybe, you know, the last comment about, you know,
I think
resignation, maybe it's a surrender of some sort. You know, some kind of surrendering to, yeah, I don't know. Because in one picture, the hat's off. Like when you go, when you go back to the page, it says, "I don't need very much now," said the boy, "just a quiet place to sit and rest." He's still holding the hat. And that's when the
Sollish. Where's Rabbi Sollish?
He's gone.
He's gone.
Oh wait, is he back?
Yeah,
He's back.
Is he back?
Yeah.
Yes, he's back.
We can hear you.
Rabbi, unmute yourself.
Yeah. No.
Listen, yeah, everyone, I need to tell you this. So just so you know, my internet went out. We had a power issue with the router. It went out and it restarted.
Okay.
That was what was going on. But this is true love. Look at this, you guys. This is fantastic. Still here. Were you all able to see yourself? I mean, everyone was still. You guys were all perfect. Good. So we allowed some class discussion time. Even
One
better.
menorah, 7 branches.
Sorry?
One menorah, 7 branches.
That's it. Okay. So I was sharing, I think we cut out right as we were in the middle of the discussion of the last page. Look, this last page is it's interesting because, you know, he is sitting alone, hat is off, he's staring kind of into the distance. It looks a little, you know, it could evoke sadness, maybe wistfulness, maybe kind of reflection, end of life type thing. But there are those ominous words there on the bottom, which I know that many books end with those 2 words. I know, but there is something a little bit ominous in my perspective in this book at this point where it says the end, right? It kind of makes it feel like something final. There's some finality here. There's this type of lonely energy end of life, no continuity, perhaps, no new tree, right? A tree and a boy. And as somebody mentioned before, we don't know what happened with his pursuit of a family, with his other pursuits. But it seems like at this point in his life, and it seems as we had some clues in the various pictures beforehand, it seems like he is pretty much alone and a little bit sad, reflective.
Think about it. If this was written in 64, that would put him in the 70s now. So it really is contemporary to the end for him.
Yeah, for him, it might very well be, some self-reflection as well.
Looks more than 70.
Yeah. So here's what I want to share with you. I want to mention one other thing. I'm going to stop sharing this. I want to share with you something else. This book has been translated into many languages. One of the languages that this has been translated into is Hebrew. And the book in Hebrew has a very interesting title. Anybody familiar with the title in Hebrew? Feel free to jump in and say it.
I'd say 8 tzedakah or something like that, but I don't know.
No. It's ha'etz. It starts with ha'etz.
Ha'etz?
Or sorry, eitz. It starts with eitz. Eitz hanediv. In fact, here's what I want to do. Because why take my word for it if you can see it for yourself? So I'm going to share with you the cover of the Hebrew version. You guys see that? Yeah? You see the binding on the right side? That's how you know it's a Hebrew book. It's reading right to left. It's ha'etz. Oh, no, sorry, it is ha'etz. Oh, yeah, we were right. Yeah, you were right. It's ha'etz hanediv. Ha'etz means the tree. Hanediv, which is the nediv type of tree. Me'et, from Shel Silverstein. Okay, so he writes his name there as well. But ha'etz hanediv. Now in Hebrew, the word hanediv doesn't mean the giving.
No.
It means the generous. And even generous may not be a really full translation or do justice to what nediv really means. Nediv means just generosity and a kindness and a really positive energy. And it's interesting because the word giving, the giving tree in English, right, versus the generous tree in Hebrew, they actually mean two very different things. And with all due respect to the Hebrew translators, I would posit that I think, and just in the title itself indicates that they may have missed the message that I want to share with you tonight. Because had they understood this message, which I believe, this is just one perspective, but I believe this is an accurate perspective. I guess I'm biased, right? Had they understood this perspective, I think they would not have called it ha'etz hanediv. They would probably have given it a different title. So let's take a bit of a deeper dive into this. And it's going to hinge on one final question. And it's a question that I know you all know the answer to. What does the tree call the other main character throughout the entire book? Boy. Even at the very end, right?
When he's an old man, he still calls him boy.
When he's an old man, a very, very old man. Shel Silverstein knew how to draw. Yeah, he knew how to depict scenes. He knew how to convey emotion. He knew how to convey age as well. And Shel Silverstein does a very intentional and deliberate job in making the other character, I guess I'll call him a boy also, why not? Who am I to disagree with the tree? In depicting the boy as going through various ages of physical development. He's becoming older and older and older. He begins as a very precocious young boy. He he advances to become an adolescent and a teenager, right? The YL, now I know, means young love, right? You see that development, middle age, and he eventually hits what I would call older age. He's an old man sitting on that stump. He looks like an older man. What does the tree call him consistently? From the first page to the last page, the tree calls him boy. The tree calls him boy. And friends, I would put forth the argument tonight that this is very indicative. It's very deliberate. It's very intentional on the part of Shel Silverstein to have the tree continue to call this person, even in adulthood, boy. Because what does it signify? What does it indicate? It indicates the perspective that the tree had about this individual, that no matter how big he got, no matter how old he got, despite his physical maturity, the tree always looked at him as a boy, never granting him true maturity, never giving him the dignity of emerging into adulthood. And here's the key, and this is something that Julie mentioned before, and this is what I really want to focus on tonight. Never truly or authentically granting the boy independence. Yes, the boy goes off on his own, but if you're a tree and you're planted in the ground, what are you really going to do, right? You can't chase after him. You can't even call him on the phone. Yeah, it's 1964. It would be hard to do the rotary thing anyway. Whatever. Yeah, I grew up with one of those rotary phones. I was there. I remember when. Here's the point. The tree can't hold the boy back, but the tree always looks at him as a boy and never speaks to him, never treats him as an adult. If you notice, even in his older years, what does the tree say when the boy approaches? Would you like to help me out here? Sorry, unmute yourselves again. I muted everybody. It was getting a little bit loud. Unmute yourself. What is the tree saying to the boy?
Eat my apples.
Eat my apples. Swing on my branches. Climb on my trunk. You understand what's going on here? The nature of the relationship in the tree's mind is stuck where?
When he is physically young.
In the boy's youth.
With the boy.
Yeah.
Stuck in the past. This is a classic example of a relationship or of an individual in a relationship who is frozen in time and who continues to view the other in a certain context, at a certain time, in a certain place, and in this case, as a young child. And what's the nature of the tree vis-a-vis the young child? What's the nature of that? Well, the tree has to take care of the young child because the child can't take care of himself. So when the child is sleeping, the tree is naturally, because the tree does love the child. That goes without saying. The tree loves the child, and the tree loves the boy. The tree loves the boy. When he's sleeping, the tree, she shelters him, she protects him. But as the boy grows older, the tree does not change approaches. And the tree doesn't in any way do anything, whether in action, so to speak, or even in words, to convey this notion of maturation, of maturity, of independence. And if you look back at the book, one of the most remarkable things will strike you. I asked before, how would you describe the tree? And then I asked, how would you describe the boy? Not all of you, but many of you said that the tree is generous. The tree is loving. The tree is so generous, unlimited generosity. And the boy, good for nothing, a taker, a user, an abuser. Look at this guy cutting down his own tree, whatever that means, right? cutting down the branches, taking all the apples, cutting the trunk, dismembering. God, this is horrific. Talk about abuse. Look at this boy. Unbelievable. But I'll
Never
ask
says
you the
thank you.
question. 1 second, Ray. I'll ask you the question. And answer this question, please. Did the boy ever ask for apples?
No.
Did the boy ever ask for the branches? Did the boy ever ask for the trunk? Where did those ideas come from?
From the tree, but I think you've got to be really careful here.
1 second, Susie. 1 second. Hold on. I'm going to give you a chance, but give me a chance for a second now. The tree, what did the boy say? Let's go back. Listen, the book is the book. It's black and white, except for that one spread that's missing. We have an accurate depiction here. Take a look at the book. Let's explore for ourselves what the boy said. Okay, here we go. The boy asked for what? The boy asked for money. Can you give me some money? Let me ask you this question. If you are a tree and you seek to not look at the boy as a boy, if you look at the boy as a young man, and if you seek his independence, what are you telling the boy at this moment in his life? What are you telling the young man? The young man wants money and says, hey, can I have some money? What do you tell the young man right now?
Get a job.
Get a job. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. It's exactly what you say. You say, I love you. I care about you. You mean a lot to me. You got to get a job now. That's there was a stage where you came to me for your stuff. Now in this stage, now you have the opportunity to make money on your own. That's the next stage in development. You know what that's called? It's called cutting the cord. It's called cutting the cord, but it's more than just cutting the cord. It's a gift. It's gifting. It's granting. It's blessing the boy with independence. One of the greatest gifts that you can ever give another human being is the dignity of independence. If you make someone reliant on you forever, that is not a dignified existence. That is not. Now, if they need you, obviously that's different. There's certain situations. But assuming that they are able, right, for independence, to withhold them from that independence is what we would call in Hebrew an avla. Maybe it's Yiddish. It's originally Hebrew. It's an avla. It's not nice. It's a disgrace. Yeah. Here the boy's ready. He needs money. Great. How about a lemonade stand? Not an apple tree stand. No, don't take my apples. You find another tree, right? Make a plan. You're smart. You know what the best thing you can tell someone is? I believe in you. I believe that you're smart. I believe that you are capable. I believe that you are that you're mature. I believe in you. That's the greatest vote of confidence. You know what the greatest vote of lack of confidence? I don't know if I said that correctly. You know what the greatest indicator that you have no confidence in the other? If you tell them, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it. I know you can't. I'll take care of it." You know what that means? That means that you don't trust them, that you don't believe in them. If you are consistently saving the day, it means this is not about you. When I say you, I don't mean literal you in this class. I mean, if one, right? I mean the general you. If one is always stepping in and rescuing the other, it means one thing. You could call it love, but really what the message is, I don't actually trust you that you can do it. Because if I trusted you, so let the other person do it, right? But it's more than that. You see, when it comes to maturation, when it comes to the process of a human being maturing from a boy to an adult, yeah? In that process, there has to be stages. There must be stages where you step back and you say, I'm not going to answer the question. I want you to answer the question. Because the best thing that she could have said, that she could have said at this point, in response to, can you give me some money, is actually not go get a job. That's actually a little bit cheeky, a little bit sarcastic. Actually, the best thing that she could have said at that point, can you give me some money, is say, okay, you need money. What do you think is a good way to get money? That really is the best thing she could have said, right? Give the child not only the answer in this case, the young man the answer, because it's still giving the answer. Give them the opportunity to think about it themselves, to think about this question themselves and to come up with their own answer. And in that process, guess what? You're modeling the very maturity that you want them to achieve. You want them to be self-sustained. You want them to stand on their own 2 feet, right? I mean, that's the goal. I guess I'm making an assumption, but that's my assumption and I'm sticking to it. The goal is, right, that your child, in this case, that this child grows up to be an adult, self-sustaining, a mature adult that's capable of handling life. If that's the goal, then you have to adjust. You can't parent, in this case, you can't treat the way you've always treated. You can't treat them the way you've always treated them, because you treated them one way when they couldn't do things. Now when they can, the best love that can be shared is a love that honors their ability. The greatest love, I'll say it again, the greatest expression of love is love that honors ability, not a so-called love that stifles independence or stifles self-growth or growth, the other self. That is not, yes, Ray, go. Hold on one second. We had actually a few comments before you. I know that, hold on one second. Let's see. Who wanted to share something before? We had Susie. Susie, you wanted to share something before. Go ahead.
I did. I think this was very prescient of him because he foresaw the time around the turn of the century when everybody got an award for being on the team. Everybody got A's because it wasn't nice not to give them real grades, where kids who are, and we're living with that now, where kids grew up expecting the world owed them. And
okay, I hear that. I think I see the connection that you're drawing. But I hear what you're saying. I want to focus specifically on this element. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm just saying I want to focus on this idea, the idea of you see, and I think it begins with boy. Are they a boy? Always? And I know once your child, always your child, obviously, right, or whatever. But are they a boy still, or are they a young adult? Are they a girl, or are they a young adult? A man and a woman, right? Are they? There's and the way you look at the other will affect the way that you speak and the way that you treat. Ray, go ahead.
The one lacking thing on the boys' part is any sign of appreciation.
Correct.
Never once did he show appreciation or say thank you.
Okay, excellent point. Excellent point. And I think, look, again, I have I don't know if it's unique, but I have a very specific take on this book, which I wanted to share with you, which I've started to develop a few minutes ago, after all the questions that I asked. In my take on this book, right, yes, responsibility ultimately lies with the individual, but a parent, a mentor, an educator goes a long way in shaping the values and the ways of the youth and of the recipient. In other words, it's modeled, a lot of it is modeled from top down. And if there's a condition that's created of dependency, right, which we would then say this relationship, and I think Julie hit it on the nail before, can be called a codependent relationship, where the tree, right, almost needs the boy to need it, and is very sad when the boy doesn't need the tree. Conversely, the tree is very happy when needed and filling that role of filling the needs of the boy. But the key to a codependent relationship is that the other one remain dependent on you, right? And it's almost like saying thank you means that you have your own awareness in your own space. And I think that's a key to this as well. When you're so locked in to that state of dependency, it's so the norm that this is where you go and that's what you have, it's actually harder to say thank you. It's not so intuitive. When you're independent and someone does for you, oh, thank you. But when that's nature itself, when that's the very definition, right? It's almost like a baby. Does a baby say thank you? And I know what you're thinking. Well, babies, they don't know. They don't have maturity. But if you keep a human being, you know, in that type of relationship, in that type of state, at what point does the boy, if you will, have that other thought of saying, well, wait a second. Now, again, you can argue, well, then mature on your own. 100%. 100%. I'm not saying the boy should write a tell-all book and blame all its problems on the tree. I'm not saying that. Although, that would be an interesting book. That might be a sequel. Maybe I'll write it one day. Maybe I'll write it. The boy's response to the giving tree. Oh, you think the tree had it rough? Oh, all you tree sympathizers. Oh, the tree is the victim. Do you know what I went through? Look at that last picture. All right, but anyway, let me bring it back. Here's the point. Yes, the boy should have matured on his own, but we're limiting it. We're limiting the scope. We don't know the boy's other relationships, although it seems like they weren't successful and his life is unhappy. Yeah. It seems very clear that the boy's life did not end in a happy way. In my opinion, on that last page is not so much wistful and nostalgic and happy to be back at home with his hat off, but more like the end. Like, this is it. Never really got anywhere else. Right back where he started from. No new family, no new trees. If you want to look at it from a tree perspective, you know, the goal of a tree would be to have another tree or to have some sort of growth, some sort of legacy. And it doesn't seem on any level, whether biological or otherwise, that there is a legacy for this boy. He seems back at the tree where he started as a 5-year-old or even younger. And it doesn't seem to be to me, it doesn't seem like a happy picture. And again, to me, what that evokes is this dependency. The boy is dependent on the tree, and the tree is making darn sure that the boy remain dependent on the tree. The tree never suggests, never educates, never guides the boy into becoming more than a boy, becoming independent. At no point in time does the tree say, go ahead, and what do you think? Even asking the question back. You know what it means when a child asks you a question, and instead of giving the answer, right? Instead of giving the answer, you ask the question back to the child. You know what it means? It means that you're saying to the child, you value my opinion. Guess what? I value your opinion. That's priceless. That is absolutely priceless. If you indicate to a child, by the way, this is not only regarding parenting, it's regarding teachers and students, the 3 pillars of tonight's class. And it's also regarding leadership. If someone is under your leadership, let's say, right? You're in a company and you're at a meeting and they're turning to you for advice, and you turn back to them and say, well, what do you think? You know what you've done? You know what that means. You've given a person their dignity. You've given them their voice. You're listening to them. That's an incredible vote of confidence. Who wouldn't want to hear that? Imagine a CEO who you respected greatly. Imagine you're working your dream job and the CEO is like famous but a good CEO, not like a ruthless, a good CEO, brilliant and wise, and they turn to you, he or she says to you in a meeting, you ask a question, they say to you, you know what? I value your opinion. What do you think? Wow, that's going to make your day. That may make your week. That may make your month. That's one of the greatest gifts you can give someone else, is that gift of confidence, that gift of, I believe in you, that gift of, I don't know what to call it, that gift of confidence, independence. Don't be dependent on me. You're amazing. I believe in you. So, who was happy in the story? Who do we know was happy in the story?
The tree, for the most part, there was one instance where it says the tree was not happy, but in all the other scenarios, it states that the tree was happy.
Excellent. Oh, Julie says no one. I might agree with that also. No one was really happy. But there are two characters. The only character that Shel Silverstein, if you think this is by accident, the story wrote itself by accident, I'm sorry. I don't buy that. I don't buy it as a masochistic tale or sadistic tale of a boy who cuts up his tree, his mama tree. Who is happy in the book? The boy is always a boy. It's written from the tree's perspective. The boy is always a boy, and the tree is always happy or looking to be happy. By the way, there's one time, as Joy mentioned, there's one time that the tree is happy, but not so much. Do you know when? I'll go back. Listen, we have screen share. This is Zoom. This is amazing, right? We live in...
Got the crown on his head.
Take a look. This is very important. I told you we're doing a Talmudic analysis of the book. Trust me.
When the girlfriend shows up.
No. I mean, his body language was sad, but it didn't say that
the boy was gone for a long time.
No, watch.
Oh,
Look.
sorry.
The tree is happy. Oh, the one time he's not. But I'm not saying I'm not saying that that's not correct. I just want to point out the details of the illustration here. So this is where he wanted a boat, right? He wanted a boat. He's already an old man here. He wants a boat. Apparently, whatever he was doing before didn't work out, and I needs to get away, far away from here. So I need a boat. And again, the tree doesn't say, okay, you need a boat. What do you propose? Like, if you want a boat, what do you think about getting a boat? Like, how would you go about that? No, the tree starts offering itself. Cut down my tree, make a boat. Then you can sail away and be happy. Does mention happiness there, but in its version of happiness. So the boy cut down her trunk, and made a boat and sailed away. And the tree was happy, but not really. Now, if I'm not mistaken, in my book, give me a second here. What? Sorry?
Because of the heart with the young love is taken away, but the tree stump with the me and T is still there.
Good. I have something else that I want to share also. Let me stop share. Hold on. I'm going to show you the original book. The original book has this on a spread, so it's actually 2 pages. So it cuts down the trunk, and the tree was happy, but then you go to the next side of the page, and then it says, but not really. So there's almost like this dramatic pause, right? This kind of build up, this drama, and then it shows just the stump of the tree, but not really. Based on my explanation so far, I want to share with you what I think is the clincher here. You ready? Why not really? Why of all the illustrations, now it's not really? Are you with me? Why? Because at this point, the tree feels like it has nothing left to give. And if it has nothing left to give, then the boy doesn't need the tree anymore or can't use the tree anymore. And therefore, its whole codependent relationship is now broken. Are you with me? Because it feels like it has nothing left to give. And that's why there's a big surprise at the end. No, there's still something. Oh, the stump still could be used. Fantastic. And now the tree can once again be happy. And it ends with that. It ends with that measure of the tree being happy. And by the way, the book ends with the tree happy and the man, frankly, looking quite miserable. Yeah, that's it. The tree looks happy. The boy looks miserable. The end. But at least the tree's happy, right? As we say in Yiddish, Abi, the tree is happy. Zol zayin azoi, as long as the tree is happy. It's a very sad story. It's a sad story. The tree was only slightly not happy. Well, the tree was sad when it wasn't being used or being needed. But the only time the book says the tree specifically wasn't happy is when the tree did not feel like it had anything left to give. When it feels maxed out, now what? Now we won't need me anymore. Now it's over. Now it's over. Now I lost, right? Now there has to be independence because there's nothing less to depend on. Now it's nothing left. Garnish geblieben. Where we're in the Yiddish course, and now I'm throwing all these Yiddish terms. Nothing left, nothing remaining. So now what? Even if he needs something, the boy, he's not going to come back to me. Gewalt, what's going to be? Will I ever be needed again? This is a very frightening thought. For a tree like this, for a person that needs others to need them, The thought of not being needed is the most frightening story of all. It's the most frightening thought of all, because then what do I have left? So in this reading of this book, we have a very powerful lesson. And it's actually a very frightening message. It's a very stark reminder. And that is, look at people with respect and grant them independence. The worst thing you can do is try to stifle someone's growth, suffocating them, keeping them down, keeping them needy, keeping them dependent. It's not kosher. It's not okay. It's not dignified. It's not honorable. It's not sinish gut. It's not good. It's not a good thing. When the child asks, don't give the child the answer, let them discover it. If you want to be getting back to the difference between the Hebrew version, the Hebrew title, at least in the English, and the actual book, if you want to be an adiv, a really generous tree, don't be a giving tree. If you want to be a generous tree, don't be necessarily a giving tree on this level. The kid is not selfish. The child is not selfish. The child is not an evil child. The child didn't begin with nefarious ideas in mind. The child knew, the young man knew that he needed money, right? What's the role of the tree if not to tell the child at that point in time, so what do you think? I'll help you with formulating your ideas, but what do you think? Let's make a plan for you. And then I'm going to stand behind you and encourage you every step of the way. That's granting true independence. So you should know this. All of Shel Silverstein's books, we don't have time to go through them all, ultimately, and they're all very complicated. Most of them are very complicated, but pretty much all of Shel Silverstein's works are about finding happiness. One of the major keys to happiness is this notion of independence. If you think about it, we find this in the context of giving. Famously, Maimonides writes, what is the greatest way to give? The greatest way to give is in a way that grants independence, right? The greatest way to give. What's the expression, the cliche or the expression? You give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but teach a man to fish, oh, he'll eat for a lifetime, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing perhaps. But the idea here is that the goal is to grant as much independence to another as possible. That truly allows one to spread their own wings and to soar high and to develop into that person that they can truly be. If they're being held down by this dependency, if they need and have to, if they're tethered still, it's not the full strength. I'll give you an example. This is an example that the Rebbe taught many times. There are two words, Hebrew words, for the tribes. 12 tribes? So there's Shevet, the 12 Shvatim. Shevet means tribe, Shvatim, tribes, plural. But there's also Mateh. Mateh also means tribe. Matot also means tribe. Mateh is tribe and Matot is tribes. So we have two words, Shevet and Mateh. Both mean tribes. They also mean sticks or branches. The difference is that a shevet means that it's still attached, or maybe it's still somewhat attached to its source. Whereas a mateh is a stick that's been disconnected for a while and is a little bit dried out. Now, I would ask you a question. So which is the better branch? One that's still connected to its source, or one that's been cut off and is, by all accounts, dead? And you would say probably the one that's connected seems like a better stick, or better branch. And yet the truth is that the more the branch is cut off, or the longer it's been cut off, the stronger it may get. Now, it might disintegrate and get brittle. That's true also. But as long as the branch is still connected to its source, it's being so nurtured by its source that it remains pliable, it's soft. Whereas when it's cut off, it hardens, it steels, it becomes stronger. So yeah, I think on one level, we'd all love to I don't know. I don't know any other way to say it than go back to the womb, right? It was a great experience. It was warm. It was cozy. It was comfortable. All of our needs were taken care of. It was fantastic. It was wonderful. The best months of my life, perhaps one might say. And yet, where does strength happen? Strength happens when we separate, when we become our own independent being. And even with that, obviously, there are steps, and that's what we're talking about tonight. There's the initial step, right, of birth, and there's the cutting of the cord, and then all of the other metaphorical cuttings of the cord that happen along the way. It's incumbent upon parents. Let's talk about parenting now. It's an absolute obligation. And I don't say this lightly. It's an absolute obligation to actively seek out the creation of independence for your children. It's absolutely an obligation because it doesn't happen on its own. It doesn't. Or at least you can't rely on it happening. Just like there was an obligation to feed your baby when they couldn't feed themselves on their own, there's an obligation at another point in time, perhaps, again, to not feed. Perhaps, right? Again, I don't want to be too harsh here, but I'm saying, giving a concept. There's a time to feed and a time to grant the other the dignity of not feeding. That's the way it is. That's the way it is with parenting. This is reflected in Maimonides' philosophy on giving. As I said before, Maimonides says the greatest form of giving is giving in a way of granting independence. That's the greatest form of giving. So let's talk about the three pillars and their Jewish understandings. Let's talk about education for a moment. We talked about parenting for a little bit. Let's talk about education. I want to talk about an old model of education, which I believe to be an unhealthy model of education. The old unhealthy model of education was like this: the teachers have all the information, and teaching is a process where you kind of empty your wisdom onto someone else, right? Imagine a cup and the other one, right? So you have your cup, they have their cup. Cup also means head in Yiddish, so it works on many levels. So you have wisdom or information in your cup, and you're pouring it onto someone else. And listen, if they're smart, they're going to open up and take it, and if they're foolish, they're going to squander their time and not listen to you. But you have the information, they don't have the information, and you're going to tell them what needs to be understood, what needs to be heard. That's the old model of education, and we know that doesn't work. It may work for some people, but it doesn't really ultimately work. What's the true model? What's the latest model of education, which is really the Jewish model of education? What model is that? It's not teaching, but facilitating learning. And it's a totally different malacha. It's a totally different idea. It's not teaching. It's rather facilitating learning. It's creating an environment. It's creating an atmosphere. It's giving the tools to enable the student to become a learner, to become wizened, essentially, of their own effort. Obviously, you're going to give them ideas and a framework and materials, and you're obviously going to present information. But the goal is not that forever they should always need that teacher to survive life or to know about things. The goal is to create independent learners. For example, in the Talmud, when it comes to Talmud study, this was very clearly communicated to us when we were first learning Talmud. There are two ways to learn Talmud. Someone can teach you Talmud, or they can teach you how to learn Talmud on your own. And that is the difference between giving them a fish or teaching them how to fish. Because if you never teach a student, a Talmud student, how to learn Talmud on their own, then forever, if they ever want to study Talmud, they still need you. Now, maybe that's good for your ego, right? Maybe that's great because I'm always needed. I'm always in high demand. I feel wanted. I feel needed. And that's an ego boost. But from the perspective of the student, the Talmud student, that's the greatest avla. That's the greatest disaster. That's the greatest disservice that we can do to that person, because you're handcuffing them and you're withholding from them the tools and the skills that they need to learn on their own. The greatest gift that a teacher, that an educator can give is the gift of knowing how to learn, knowing how to think, thinking about how to think, but doing so from their own initiative. There's a wonderful, and just so you know, these are the latest pedagogical models, the latest schools, and the latest pedagogy is saying, don't teach, facilitate learning. Don't hit kids over the head with information. Instill within them, try to foster within them a passion for education and learning. Yes, these are the latest models of education. So hear me out for a second. What happens at the Seder? This is such a Jewish idea. What happens at the Seder? Children are front and center. The children are the star of the show. The Seder, starring the children. And what happens? What is the great speaking role of the child at the Seder? Help me out here. What does the child do at the Seder? Everyone knows this, right? What does the child do?
4 questions.
Ask the 4 questions. And what do the adults in the room say right after the 4 questions? What do the adults in the room say? Sorry, what don't they say?
The answers.
Answers. They don't give the answers. They don't say, well, answer 1, answer 2, answer 3, answer 4. They don't do that. Nor, by the way, do they jump in the middle of the question and say, here's the answer. You know why? Because at the Seder, we are being taught how to learn, how to think, how to educate, how to parent, how to mentor, how to lead. This is a lesson in pedagogy. It's a lesson in parenting. It's a lesson in leadership. Don't force your ideas on the other. Give them the opportunity to ask, share with them a story that they might not know, and allow them to draw their own conclusions. Look through the Seder, I challenge you. Look through the Haggadah, whether it's Maxwell House, maybe it's Art Scroll, maybe it's Folgers. I don't know if Folgers makes one. Whatever. Look, find your Haggadah. Find an online Haggadah. I challenge you. I even dare you. No, I'm kidding. I challenge you. Find the answers. Find the answers to the 4 questions. Nice. The new Haggadah.
No, Rabbi.
Yes.
The leader at the table says, it is because of what God did for me when I went out of Egypt, to me, not to you. If you had been there, you would not have deserved. I mean, that's not encouraging.
Well, there's another way to understand that. There's another way to understand that. The way the Rebbe understands that, the Chabad way of understanding it is you tell the child, if you were in Egypt, if you were there, you wouldn't be redeemed. But this is not then, and therefore you are being included. So there is a little bit of tough love there, but ultimately the payoff is that it's not 3,000 years ago. In Egypt, not all the Jews made it out. Those that didn't want were left behind. But today, we don't leave anyone behind. No child left behind, no person left behind. We love and embrace everyone. I understand that's not the most natural way of reading it, but that's the way Chabad reads it. That's the way we understand it. So you're asking a Chabad rabbi, I'm giving you a Chabad answer. So it may not be the one that you saw initially in it, but that's the legit answer through Chabad lens. But here's the point. And by the way, I should mention, you're talking about the 4 children or the 4 sons. I'm talking about the 4 questions, which is another 4, but it's a different part of the Seder, a bit different part of the Haggadah. I'm specifically talking about the 4 questions that the child asks. Why do we eat matzah and not chametz? Why do we drink 4 cups of wine? Why do we lean and recline? Why do we dip the vegetable twice? That's the question. Those are the 4 questions that I'm referring to, not the 4 sons. But I think I understood your question, and I hope what I said makes sense. What I'm referring to are the 4 questions. Never, not once in the Haggadah does the parent wrap it up and say, and now we know why we eat matzah, and now we know why we eat the bitter herbs, or why we dip the vegetable, or why we lean. You never spell it out. Because if you spell it out, you ruin the process. You ruin the whole point. The point of education is not giving children answers. I'm sorry for shocking you. The point of education is not giving information. It's enabling, it's giving people the tools to become wise, learners, independent thinkers. That's the goal of education. Somebody tells you otherwise, in my opinion, you may want a second opinion, or you may want to go the other direction. If somebody says the point of education is that I should tell you how to think, gewalt, gewalt, gewalt. That means watch out, watch, beware, caution, huge red flags, Huge red flags. It's not the purpose of education, and it's not the purpose of parenting. It's not about me telling you what to do. It's not me telling you how to think. It's not me telling you what's right and wrong. Education and parenting is all about instilling confidence, instilling skills within the child, within the student. It's about raising, helping them rise up on their own 2 feet and not keeping them squished down, not pushing them down to make them dependent creatures on you. That's the key. It's modeled in the Seder. It's modeled in the story of Joseph and his father. Joseph survives 20 years in Egypt being sold as a slave. How does he survive? He tells his father later, he sends him wagons when he eventually, he sends word to his father that he's alive, to Jacob that he's alive. He sends wagons because the wagons are agalot. The last part of Torah that they studied together was egla rufa, the law related to the word agala, wagon. Egla rufa means a calf. It's a complicated story, but at the bottom of the complicated legal thing. But the point is that Joseph was telling his father, you know how I survived? Because of what you taught me. Not what you taught me, the specifics of what you taught me, but the notion that you instilled within me, the education and the confidence of being able to stand on my own 2 feet. For someone to survive all the abuse that Joseph survived, being sold by his own family and being framed by his master, Potiphar, and thrown into a dungeon in a foreign country, all to survive that means that you have strength. And strength is, we can't force someone to have strength, but we can certainly facilitate that strength within the other. And keeping them in a state of dependence is not the way to foster strength. One final point, and then we're going to close it out. When it comes to leadership, in this week's Torah portion, God tells Moses to tell his brother Aaron, who is the high priest, "Ba'alotcha tanerot." When you kindle the menorah, this is how you should do it. But the word ba'aloscha or ba'alotcha means when you raise the lamps. And Rashi says, how do you light the lamps? Make sure that they rise on their own. Hold the candle there long enough that it rises on its own, and then pull away your candle. Let that flame rise on its own. And that is the model of leadership. If you are an Aaron, if you're a Moses, if you're a leader of anything, leader of one, if you're your own leader, whatever it is, if you're a leader, it means that you are allowing others to stand on their own 2 feet. You're not pushing people down or telling people how to think or telling people what to do. That's not leadership, that's dictatorship. And dictatorship is not the same as leadership. Leadership means that you instill confidence, that you believe in the other, and you allow people to stand on their own 2 feet. That is granting dignity, that is granting honor. And that's the message, in my opinion. This is just a Jewish perspective. In my opinion, this is the story of the giving tree. Shel Silverstein wrote a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece that I believe is very often misunderstood. People love it. People think, oh my gosh, the tree, what a martyr, what a tree. The boy, what a horrible human being, a good for nothing, terrible, what a terrible child. I look at it differently. I'm not saying what's right or wrong, by the way. I'm granting you your own independence. See, I'm modeling this. Think how you wish and interpret it how you wish. But if I'm right, then what the book means, right? Then what the book means, it's a cautionary tale. Allow your child to grow up. Don't answer all their questions for them. Allow them to become mature. Allow your students to think for themselves. Allow your people in the role of leadership to be their own leaders. All right, folks, that closes us out for tonight. Thank you for joining me for the Giving Tree. I hope this class has given you a new perspective, and thank you for being here. As we close it out, I want to show you one more thing on my screen and encourage you to consider joining me for this, because I believe that you are going to, thank you, David, the end. That is the end for this presentation. One final thing, I just shared my screen once again, and you may see this. Can you see that, everybody? Yes? Can you all see that? Yeah. Life After Life. It's a course that's starting in a few weeks, two Tuesdays from tonight. So June 23rd, tonight's the 9th, 14 days. We have a brand new course, Life After Life. The subtitle is What Happens Next? What happens next? What happens after life as we know it? What happens on the other side? This is classic and spiritual Jewish wisdom on life after life. Join me, 4 sessions beginning Tuesday, June 23rd. You don't want to miss this. It's already live on our website. It's going to be a magnificent series. I think you're going to love it, and I think you're going to gain a lot from it. As much as it's going to tell us about what's on the other side, it's going to also tell us a lot about how to live life right in the here and now. So it works on both levels. Thank you again for joining me tonight. I'm going to let you all go. I don't want to hold you longer. Hope you enjoyed it, and Lila Tov. Take care.
Lila Tov, thank you so much.
Lila Tov, thank you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
See
Thank
you
you,
all.
Joy.
Pleasure. Have a good night. Thank you all.